Hey, y'all, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, this is Joe and Jay Outspoken. Remember to follow all of our platforms, and you can find them by going to linktree/Joe and Jay Outspoken. Today's show is for Tuesday, November 14th. I'm Jay, and today Joe and I will be going over the culture of guns in America and how they are loved by many and loathed by the rest. All right, Joe, are we ready to talk about the Pew Pew Nation?
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, man. I'm ready. There's so much to talk about. So much has changed. Exactly. We've talked about 2A in the past, but this is like it's just getting out of hand, and people's perception of gun control is been skewed so much. So I'm ready, man. Let's talk about this, people.
Let's go.
All
Don't
right.
say you hate them until you've experienced a range day. All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for showing up here today. Hopefully you saw some of our last episodes here. We have an episode that wasn't a part one or a second part to this, but it was over the 2A and some things that were going on with that. We figured, this is a good time to kind of revisit. It's one of our favorite pastimes, I guess you would say.
It really is.
We love, going out and having a nice little range day and going out and shooting and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we know how this subject there are some folks that it slightly triggers, I would say. So is that
no
a pun
intended?
I'll have a little ditch.
Yeah. No, it definitely triggers a lot of people. But again, I think in what we're seeing in society today, it takes very little to trigger these progressive left. Like anything.
Oh, yeah.
Like you could fart and it triggers them, right? That we're destroying the ozone layer by our gases.
Gosh,
you know what I mean? It could
We're
be
just
anything.
Cows, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Right. We're just we're walking carbon, just leaving our imprints everywhere.
We are. We're a walking carbon footprint.
Right. So it's kind of hard not to ruffle some feathers.
Yeah.
When it comes to especially guns. Guns is such a hot topic for the left.
Right.
Let's be, we got to take this seriously. Because they have valid points, right? Guns kill people. Not that abortions do anything, right? You can kill another human being by pulling them out, or just
rip them apart,
right?
Yeah.
But a gun, you've crossed the line there, buddy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's out of control. So I'm kind of over that,
right?
And to me, it's kind of crazy that this is still even something that we have to talk about, right? Because let's take, for example, the Nashville trans shooter, Audrey Hale. So her manifesto was secret, right? No one wanted to talk about it. No, let's keep it undercover. It's not important. It didn't meet the narrative, right? Because first of all, she was white. Right. So we're like, it doesn't meet the narrative. You guys don't need to hear about the manifesto. The FBI's, we need to talk. They're researching it. Blah blah. The truth of the matter is, she was racist as hell. These are little kids we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And
that's taught. That's taught.
Yeah. And some of the verbiage that she used in her manifesto, or cracker. Right? She called these students crackers, right? The F word.
Unless you put ham on me, I find offense to that.
There you go. So, like, she used the F word. So she is a trans. She was trans.
Mm.
She used the F word, not the FU word, but the F word that is derogatory to describe a gay person, which is not derogatory anymore because it's part of the LGBT title now. But she used that term in there.
Yeah.
White privileged. Right, she used white privilege in her manifesto. Mop yellow hair. I'm still trying to get over that. She used the term mop yellow hair, and I'm thinking, what? Like, I had buddies that their hair turned green when they were in the pool.
Oh, in the pool,
yeah. Those are the ones I think about. It's like they're really, really blondie,
right? Super blondies,
right? And to me is like, why are you hiding that? Why are you hiding that? Alone that she's white and that she was making these racial statements to white people, right? That just proves that her being trans, that just her, not even trans, but just her, had some severe mental illness
Oh
going on.
yeah, yeah,
Severe, right? So
absolutely.
now, if those guns were legally obtained, right? They were in someone's home, her parents owned them, whatever the case is, and she went and grabbed them. The, the guns aren't the problem. This is what people don't understand. The guns are not the problem. It's the people,
Right.
right, that cause the problem. And we talked about this in one of our original episodes about 2A, and we talked about like, so if we're going to take this type of mentality, like, oh, we need stronger gun control, we need to wipe these guns away, no one needs these military grade weapons, which is it's freaking ridiculous they say that, but anyway, we don't need these military grade weapons out in the streets and blah blah blah, you know. Or we hear comments from the View like uh
Joy.
Bear,
Bohair.
but yeah, her, the
Butt hair.
yeah, that one talks about like who uses those high power rifles for hunting. If you shoot a deer, you destroy it. I'm like, have you shot a rifle? Like, but anyway, I mean, like, if we would use that same mindset that all these politicians who want to get elected jump on this bandwagon, why wouldn't we be having like car control for all those DUIs, people that get crashed and they kill people driving, right? Vehicular manslaughter. They charge them with vehicular manslaughter, right? DUIs and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't take like the car. They don't bring up that the car had anything.
We have to ban cars.
Yeah, I mean, they don't ban cars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They because we need them. There's
Right.
people out there that are lobbyists that pay a lot of money to keep these things on the road.
Right.
So
well, also the car itself gets taken away from the perpetrator, right? The person that was drunk or what have you.
They get their license.
They get their license suspended, right? And it gets taken away from them. Now, here's one of the big key things, because this comes up a lot with folks when they do the whole argument between, well, you have to go get a license to be a car, to have a car and all this. And the thing is, a car is a privilege in our society, not a right.
That's
which firearms are a right under our Constitution. I know people are really desperate to change all that and everything, but there's a lot of things in the Constitution that we're really glad that they're there, and we don't want them to be changed. Yeah. And once that one gets changed, the rest of them can easily get changed.
They're all open for change.
That's right, because it sets a precedence, right?
Absolutely.
And your different types of case law that are out there, and you see it. You see things that get squashed or overturned or what have you, and it's because something was some kind of case law in the past. The lawyers or whoever it is, they find it and they're like, hey, look, this was a similar case that happened in the past. And the thing is, Joe was saying, Joy butt hair, whatever, she said that these high powered rifles, it's going to destroy a deer or whatever. Well, I don't know, we haven't been deer hunting with our ARs or anything like that, but so for those of you that don't understand, and maybe you're watching and you're not a big gun fan, that's fine. Everybody's got their preferences and things. So an AR-15 sounds like, because you hear it in the media, it sounds like a really scary gun. Now, it is a powerful device, and there's a lot of things that are very powerful that can hurt you. I mean, your garbage disposal, don't put people's arms in there. It's really bad for you. I'll tell you that right now. So an AR-15, the shell that comes out of the end, or the projectile that comes out of the end of that, is the exact same diameter as a .22 round. Now, for those of you that don't know the difference between guns and things like that, get a .22 pistol or rifle and look at the cartridge, the bullet, if you want to call it that, and put those two side by side, and you'll see that the diameters are the same. Now, yeah, the AR has a little bit longer, pointier projectile, so it can go farther, so it can travel farther. It has more gunpowder behind it, so you can put it down range a little bit farther. But the thing is that they're talking about it like this thing's this big around, and it's going to kill an elephant or something like that. There's a lot of de-education in firearms.
Yeah.
A lot of misinformation that's
That's
out
what
there.
it is right there. It's misinformation.
Well, the thing is, if there's a drunk driver, right, or a drunk driving accident, what is the common denominator every time there's a drunk driving accident? There's a car every time. So should we be banning cars? No, we are smart enough to know that it wasn't this inanimate object that started itself up, went down the road willy-nilly, ran a stop sign, and killed a family of 4. Okay. It was the person that decided consciously to get behind the wheel, whether that was, decided by them or they had mental illness or whatever it was. And this becomes the same thing with firearms. Yes, they can be used for something horrible. So can cars, so can knives, so can a baseball bat. And there's a ton of ways that people can hurt other people. If you go far enough back in time, all we had was rocks and sticks to chuck and beat each other with. And guess what? People got stoned to death and beat to death by,
they did.
Sticks and things like that. And nobody thought, well, let's ban rocks and sticks. It would be asinine and seem really silly to do that.
Or bad words for hurt feelings. Oh wait, that's happening now. Sorry.
that goes back to sticks and stones right there. Sticks and stones, baby.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, we've for some reason, they know that it is I want to say a God-given right, because the Constitution is our bill or paperwork that says, hey, you have that ownership, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was, and how we discussed in our last podcast, there's a heavy influence of Christianity in our Constitution, right? So it is our right. The Second Amendment was given to us by our forefathers, the ones who fought for our freedom, right, to allow us that. And they did that for a reason. The Constitution was written so that what happened in England doesn't happen here, right? So we are able to control our destiny. And if the government, the people that we elect to run our nation, gets out of hand, we're able to take up arms and fight that tyranny, right? That's our job. That's our God-given constitutional right, right?
That's correct.
And we have to do that. Now, by governments attempting to amend, to change, to take away anything from the Constitution, that's a tyrant move, man. You can't do that. We can't be selective when it comes to the Constitution. The Constitution, like, oh, that's good, that's not good, let's take that out. You can't do that. I mean, it's a whole thing. We have the Bill of Rights, we have the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. All that's something that people sat together and through everything that they went through said, this is what we need to give to the people to secure a free nation. Right. And by the government attempting to take away, to ban, to adjust, to move, to dictate how that amendment is exercised, is against the law. It's against the Constitution.
It is.
Right? You can't do that. I can't say just because I don't like guns, I'm going to totally define the Second Amendment to what fits my narrative. You can't do that. It's a lot of people say, well, nowhere in there it says that you could have AR-15s. Well, yeah, I know there wasn't AR-15s back then when they wrote the Constitution back in 1776. So yeah, they're not going to have that.
Right.
Genius. And it's just ignorance.
People have said, well, you couldn't own a cannon back then.
Yeah, you
that
could.
is not
Yeah,
true.
you could.
You could absolutely own a cannon. The problem was
people could own tanks nowadays.
Yeah,
they might not be able to fire, but you could. Own them.
Yeah, and the thing was, the people back then, you couldn't afford a cannon. I mean, it would be like us saying, hey, you can get a, what was it? Was it Pepsi? I think
the helicopter.
No, it was a Harrier. They had did a commercial or something like that. Yeah, this is years ago. I think it was back in the early 90s or something. They said if for Pepsi points, it may be Coca-Cola. So if it is, I'm sorry, don't throw stuff at us here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Pepsi points. And you could get like a t-shirt, golf bag, all these different things. And they said for I don't remember what it was. Man.
And this guy literally got the points.
He literally got the points for it. And they defrauded him. But they were like, so it was the Pepsi company that didn't want, and I don't want to get off on a tangent on that, but they didn't want to obviously buy a Harrier jump jet for this guy, that was going to
like Pepsi.
Yeah. But the thing is they were trying to figure legally and everything. They were like, yeah, actually, he can own one if he wants to. I mean, he's got to have a license to fly it,
But you
and
can
all
own it.
that kind of stuff. But you can own one. You can't have
I could buy a semi, but I need a license to drive it.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And what are you going to haul down the road? You know,
Don't worry about what I'm hauling down the road, bro. That's a lot of questions. That's my see. Now you're invading my privacy.
that was
bro,
that
okay?
was like that was the last episode. The shipment hasn't come in yet, man.
It has not arrived.
I'm wearing the right shirt. We're going to Colombia, baby.
That's right. we're Chapo 2
Chapo
right
2.
here. But no, I mean, there's like you said, there's a lot of misinformation and a misconception of what gun control is. A lot of people think that gun control is like, hey, let's just make stricter laws and blah blah. That doesn't work.
No.
So the problem is, so what gun control is when they're trying to prevent or restrict the ownership of guns. That's what their gun control is, right?
Right.
You can't do that. You cannot. So here's the thing. It doesn't matter what you do. You can have the for example, we have the strictest laws on drug use. Have that stopped the flow of drugs?
No.
Nah. You're not going to stop the criminal element of this. You're not.
The criminals don't follow the rules. They don't follow the law.
So
hello,
we could have the California, one of the most strictest gun law state in the U.S. How violent is Southern California?
How about Illinois in the Chicago area?
But so this is what I'm talking about, though. These are the things that I'm talking about. Is like you have these gun controls. Okay, hey, all you're doing with these strict gun controls is you're preventing people from defending themselves.
Right.
That's all you're doing. And because the criminals don't give two hoots whether the law says you could have a gun or not.
Yeah.
Because clearly they don't care about the drug aspect of it. You think they're gonna care about a gun?
Right.
You need the gun to deal with the drugs, right? It's just ridiculous.
There's so two experiments that you can do. One is you can do personally, and the other one we need to do as a society. So let's take a place like Chicago. Chicago's already probably one of the worst places as far as any kind of violence, but
I don't know, Detroit's kind of high right now.
Detroit's bad too. Yeah, there's a couple of cities, but let's just take like Chicago. So and anybody from Chicago, I'm not suggesting we do this, but you take a city like that already has some of the strictest gun control laws, and we just say, you know what? We're going to do a social experiment, and we are going to make guns completely illegal within the city of Chicago. You cannot own a gun there. Nobody can own a gun there. So if you're a good standing citizen, legal and everything, you need to either give it to somebody outside the city limits, you need to sell it back, destroy it, whatever. Okay. What do you guys think would happen within the next 6 months to a year in that city? Do you think that the criminal element would have turned in all their guns and said, "Ooh, we're gonna get in trouble, Joe, if we're caught with the gun"?
I think they turn them in. I have faith in society.
Because most of those people, it's illegal for, even if it was a legal gun purchase, they cannot purchase those guns because they have felony backgrounds and such, right?
Correct.
And they already can't get a hold of them to begin with. So they're already in a legal gun state. They are illegally holding firearms. So let's take it one step further. Let's do it personal. So if you really, really think that making guns illegal or putting up a bunch of signs, get 2 signs and put in your front yard and say, this is a gun-free zone. This house has 0 guns and has no tolerance for them.
I would never put that. That neighbor that you don't like, I'd put that in front of his house.
Then so and any rational person, even if you are you really don't like firearms, and that's everybody's prerogative. It's a free country. But even folks like that, if you have half a mind to think about it, you're going to go, ooh, that wouldn't be a good idea, because the criminals would now know that I am not a gun owner, that I don't have any guns, and I'm an easy picking for robbing, for jumping into my house.
Yeah.
So if that's true on an individual basis, imagine on a statewide, city, whatever you want to say, God forbid, federal basis, right? That we would restrict or take away guns. So again, we've done that. We've done that experiment already. We have cities that have the strictest gun laws and states, and they have some of the worst gun crimes, right?
Yeah.
Why would that be? Well, because the criminal element, if there was a parking structure that said, no locked doors in this parking structure, you can't lock your car doors in this parking structure.
Dude.
What would happen? Everybody's car would be just and not broken into. They'd just be opened up because the criminal element, it wouldn't be honest people. It wouldn't be good people.
Yeah.
It'd be the criminal element that would understand, and they would prey upon that.
Man, it'd be so hard to prove, like breaking and entering that.
Yeah.
But no, but you're absolutely right. I mean, unfortunately, we live in a society where we need self-defense nowadays, right? I mean, and not everybody's, 240 pounds lean muscle in our society. A lot of people are smaller.
Are you talking about me again?
I said strong. They're not lean. They're not, there's not a lot of people that know how to fight. There's not a lot of people
Right.
that want to fight. You have a lot of women nowadays, women working late, different hours,
Mhm.
they're in that work zone now. Coming home at night, whatever the case is, they want that self-protection.
Mhm.
Pepper spray, it's great, but you gas yourself, when you're spraying it,
Right, especially if you're sitting in the car trying to gas the guy getting in your car. And now it's just
right.
like
A knife like close quarters is good for a male, but not for a female. You get outpowered. I'm all for, like, my daughter. She'll be armed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She knows how to use a gun. And I feel much more comfortable her having a gun than I would a knife or mace. When she was younger, I gave her mace because she was legal age to have a gun. Mace is the best thing. You know what? She might be gassed, but at least it gives her opportunity to get away. Right?
Yeah.
But
When I smell gas, I get away real quick.
Most of the time, it's your own. Anyway, but the problem is that you have valid points, but we're in a society now that, unfortunately, look, we have guns, we have weapons, we have people who use malice with those items, right?
Right.
Their intention is to harm people with those means.
Yeah.
So now, unfortunately, we have to use the equal amount of force, if not greater, to combat that. Right. To eradicate that. That's our right. We have a right to live. Right.
Right.
And so in doing so, that might mean taking someone else's life. Right. And it sounds horrible, but that's the society we live in today. Now, if we were to remove all guns, that you have criminal elements that have bats, right? That have other things that they'll use because they don't fight fair. Criminals are criminals for a reason, right? They're not going to fight fair for you, right? But guns, if our forefathers thought that guns was a necessity for their citizens, it's for a reason. They foresaw things that, there's a lot of things now that's happened that if it wasn't for the Constitution, if it wasn't for what the foundation is set for us, we would have been chaos.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So
absolutely.
they clearly they came from suffering, right? They came from being under a rule, right? Being taxed, being like telling them what religion they have to follow. They came from all that.
Right.
And when they came to this country, when it came to America, they wanted to start fresh. They wanted to start new, and that's what they wanted. That's what they did. And that's what they did in creating the Constitution and giving the citizens the power.
Right.
If you notice, the power wasn't given to government. The power was given to us.
Right.
We are the ones that elect. We're the ones that pick it, right? We also have the power to remove them from those positions.
Well, I think that's for me, that's one of the biggest problems I have with the left side of the aisle. I mean, we have friends that are, I would say, left leaning, and some people that are kind of on the fence, maybe more right leaning, but kind of right down the middle somewhere. One of the things that I think bugs me most about the left side of the aisle is how much power they want to give government and take away from themselves. They literally want to take, and they don't realize, I think, that they are having, the freedom and power taken away from us as citizens. They just see it as such a win to have government take over. And the thing is that, guys, government screws up everything they do, right? Yeah. There's a reason that the government doesn't make tanks. You may say, yeah, they do. No, there's big companies that build contractors that build that stuff, because if the government did it, it would be ridiculous. That's why we have, companies that build all these kind of different things. And guess what they are? Those are private companies. They are not run by the government.
They're government contractors, make a lot of money.
Yeah, right. They work almost not exclusively, but sometimes they will, depending on the, deals. And so that's the thing, is that most of the people that are in government have law degrees and those kind of things. They don't have business degrees. They don't know how to run something. Your average company in the United States, if it ran like the government, within 6 months to a year, it'd be out of business, right? So the government runs like completely backwards.
That's why my daddy Trump was the best president we had.
And honestly, that's why he did really well in office.
Well, you know what? Another reason is because he was returning the power
to the people,
back to the republic.
Yeah,
to the people.
Yeah, to the republic. We are not a democracy, you guys. Remember that.
We're a constitutional republic.
Yeah, we're a constitutional republic. So,
which was what our president was doing, is returning. He was removing stuff from the government and putting it back into the republic, which the republic is us, the people. Yeah. But people don't get that.
No,
people thought he was this guy wanted everything for himself. He didn't even take a paycheck.
No, he's the only president that left office with less money than when he went in. You got to think about that. That's fine if you hate the guy and you don't like his tweets and all that kind of stuff.
I love his tweets.
He left office with less money than he walked in with. The only president that's happened to. The rest of them have walked in as, having in the hundreds of thousands of dollars to being multimillionaires when they left office.
Oh, he's probably the only president too who's been indicted with 91 felonies. So.
Oh gosh,
which is ridiculous.
It is.
They can't get him. You know what's funny? They can't. I'm sorry to get off subject, but they cannot get him criminally, so they're going after him civilly. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is how low our government will go to try to prevent him from running as president again.
Yeah.
Only because they know that he's going to eradicate all the bad apples from government.
Yeah, they're going to lose their meal tickets.
Yeah, and continue to make this back, or continue to return this to the republic that it was. But anyway, I know that most recently you saw that what was it? A judge reversed the brace stock,
or
from the ATF.
Yeah.
So all you felons are no longer felons, so you're good.
I said bump stock. It was the
brace.
Yeah, for the SBRs.
Yeah,
the short barreled rifles. Yeah,
so you guys can put them back on your rifles. I think. Yeah. I'm not sure. We'll have to look more into it.
Well, if you're part of like the one of the
rebellions.
Yeah, one of the rebellions. It's not the NRA. It's like, I think the NRA was doing stuff with it too, but it was the
lawsuit, right?
The FPC, the Firearms Policy Coalition. Yeah, they had lawyers going after it, and I think anybody that if you joined with them, you actually, like if you're a life member or a monthly member or what have you, they had a stay. So even if it's still not good, you can still have it on yours.
So this is another fine example of what we were talking about with the Constitution. The Constitution prevents these rogue departments and agencies like the BATF, from creating these stupid policies, right? They didn't call it a law. They didn't call it a law because they can't create laws.
Right.
They called it a rule or something. I don't know what the hell they called it.
Ruling. Yeah.
Nonetheless, they can't do that.
No,
their rules cannot impact people that have legally obtained these things, right? So this is what,
and it's a piece of plastic. It doesn't fire anything.
Well, it's semi-plastic. The rest is the cloth Velcro.
The cloth, yeah. It just
and that was created for somebody that was handicapped that lost control or something in the military, and a buddy of his created. Anyway, the point of the Constitution was to prevent these rogue departments within the government to run amok and do whatever they want, right? You're not supposed to be doing that. That's why we have a division in power also, to prevent anyone to have sole ownership or sole authority to make all these things and create a society of socialists, right? Or communism. That was the whole point.
Well, why don't we have, I don't know, one car company in the entire United States, What is that called?
A monopoly.
That's called a monopoly, right? So
You didn't think a Mexican knew that, huh?
we went to the same school, so it's, we sat through the same class. That's the only thing we remember. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
so,
that's it.
so same thing with these, like the ATF, these different, arms of the parts of the government. You can't allow the ATF or the FBI or any specific, arm of the government to have complete control over everything. They have to have checks and balances.
Absolutely.
This particular ruling should have went through. It should have been a bill, and it should have went through Congress and been voted on, and through the House. Yeah, it should have went through all that to be voted on and everything. And they just like, nah, we don't care about you guys. We're just going to do it. So some of you may be cool with it and say, well, I don't care about guns anyways, and I don't even know what the piece was they were trying to eliminate and everything.
It's a gateway.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, because once they start taking those little things away, eventually, so almost so many people lately have voted to legalize marijuana. I don't even know if we're supposed to say that on here, but I just did.
Mary Jane.
So I mean, if you look at states across the board and cities, and when they have like the things to vote for it, most everybody's saying, just legalize it. Who cares? Like, I mean, Joe here smokes a lot of it. I don't smoke any. I'm just kidding. No, we don't smoke, but I don't agree with it being this illegal thing where somebody spends 10 years in prison for smoking.
I don't smoke. I don't smoke that sticky icky.
The sticky icky, the devil's lettuce. Yeah.
I do smoke cigars though.
I may look like it. This is Hawaii 5-0, not Jamaica. Okay. So, all right. but so the ATF, right? They take that inch and they grab the support braces for SBRs, right? And they take and everybody says, oh yeah, get rid of them because we don't like guns anyways, blah, 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 blah. Now the next thing they say, well, guess what? We're going to come after your weed now because that's part of our thing. And we already set precedents that we can start taking this stuff away from you without it going through Congress or you get to vote or anything like that. So please understand.
Or tell you what, any alcohol that's above 8% alcohol, we're cutting out.
Yeah,
or we're going to add additional tax.
There goes your old English.
Because they're also my OE, bro.
Your OE, man.
Because they're also in charge of alcohol.
Yeah, ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms.
And they're also in charge of your little firecrackers. So could you imagine? It's like 4th of July, no more firecrackers.
Done.
You know what I mean? So it starts with, remember, if we allow the government, no matter how much I hate a certain decision because it goes against my values or whatever the case is, if it impacts the Constitution, I'm going to vote against it. I'm going to say no, right? No matter if it favors what I like, because this is what I know. The moment that we allow them to give them a gateway into altering the Constitution, it's over.
That's right.
They will take over, and they will become. We will become a communist, socialist country with zero rights.
Right.
You know, everybody talks about like, oh, socialism's so cool and blah blah blah. You know who says that? Everyone that's never lived in a socialist country. That's who says that. You know, go live in one. If you want one so bad, go live in one, and then you come back and tell me. But if you ask people from Cuba, you ask people from China, you ask people from Russia or anywhere of these places where they actually lived in communism, Venezuela or Venezuela, wherever that down south. You ask them, they've lived in communism. They've lived in socialist countries. Where are they at now? Well, most of them are here, right? Because most of them aren't. Because why? They can't get out, right? So stop trying to dilute our nation with this crazy talk, right?
Right.
Of let them take your guns. You don't need guns. They're dangerous. Yeah. Look, they're dangerous. Just like a vehicle's dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Trains are dangerous, right?
Swimming pools.
Everything's dangerous. There's danger in everything. But here, don't let this politicians take the role away as a parent. As an adult, do your job. Teach your kids right or wrong. Be an adult. Don't play with guns. I've seen adult cops swirling their guns. They haven't even checked if it's cleared. And just stupid things like that. I mean, we have to do better.
Don't be dum-dums.
Yeah, don't be dumb. Don't be turd birds.
Don't be turd birds.
So we have to do better. So, but here's the thing: the bottom line is that we could do anything we want to, but remember these laws, these gun laws that they're trying to pass, the red flags, all these things that they're trying to do, all they're doing is tying the hands of law-abiding citizens because
Yeah,
the
right.
criminals do not abide by laws.
Right.
And all they do is like, I'm a person that works 9 to 5. I have my home. I've worked so hard to have what I have, and for someone to come in here and just take whatever they want, and I'm unable to defend myself. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
What kind of country am I living in?
What?
You know, I want to defend my property. I want to defend my family. I want to defend my friends. I want to defend myself. You know, and if that means I have to use a gun to do it because there's 5 of them, guess what I'm doing? I'm using a gun. But the moment they see a gun or I discharge a weapon, guess what's going to happen? They're going to run.
Right.
The violence stops because I'm not going to chase them, because that's one against the law. You can't be chasing them. If they're fleeing, then you've done your job.
Yeah.
You're done. Don't go after them, right? Because now you're doing vigilante.
Right.
So
that's
you
exactly what. Yeah.
You got to stop.
Yeah.
But here, that's the problem. That's the difference between a law-abiding citizen
A
and a
law-abiding
criminal.
citizen probably wouldn't do that. They wouldn't
No.
run after him anyways.
And so and it's just I every time, and I feel my heart goes out to all these victims that that die from gun violence. But let's we call it gun violence. That's what society calls it. Because they die by guns, but it's really what we're fighting is mental health
issues.
Mental health issues and drug issues and things like that. I mean, it's where the gun, if you put a gun on a table and you don't and tell it, hey, go kill for me, the gun's not going to grow feet and go out there and shoot somebody, right? The guns is an inanimate object. It's going to sit there until you grab it, until you load it, until you aim it, and until you pull that trigger.
Yeah.
That's when it's going to kill somebody, right? And then you need intent. You need, there's a lot of stuff that goes with that. So for people to say like, guns are dangerous, yes, they are. You're absolutely 100% correct. But it's the person behind that gun that's more dangerous, because if their intent is to harm people, then you're already, they shouldn't have a gun. And I'm all for people who have any kind of mental illness, who are unstable, who had previous history of violence, whether on a spouse or a child or whatever. Even if it was a misdemeanor, it wasn't even a felony. If they're prone to violence, no gun.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And it's one of the things, guys, that, any felony, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be a violence-related crime. A felony charge on you eliminates your possibility to own a firearm legally. Okay. And I said that legally because, you might be able to get one illegally somewhere or what have you. But that goes back to that whole thing, is that if you lose your driver's license, can you still drive a car? Well, not legally you can't, but people do. Do we know have you ever known of anybody? I've known people that have driven around without a license, right? And they shouldn't be.
It was like 14, bro, and it was a tractor.
It's a tractor. Okay. Well,
we lived in a farm, so I'm like, I'm using this down the road.
My brother had worked on a golf course, so we'd run around on the golf carts. Yeah, the groundskeepers hated us because we tear up their pretty grass and everything. So
whatever, overrated.
Yeah, overrated. So I brought something up here. Since 1899, more than 474 million guns have been produced in the United States. And it's truly unknown the amount that people own in the United States, but it's in the, 500 million plus.
Where are you reading this? That girl's naked. I'm just kidding.
There are so many owned firearms in the United States, and yet comparatively, so I forget, and I'll post it up here. What are the 5 cities? If there was, so we're number 2 or number 3 in gun violence in the world, right? Something like that. Number 2 or number 3. Okay. If you take away the top 5 cities, which all have the most strict gun laws in the United States, and you take those away, we move down to, what is it, 180th or something like that. We're way down the list. So a lot of the problem is that we have cities that have issues, whether it's socioeconomic issues, whether it's a lot of mental issue problems, a lot of fatherless kids. These Most of these crimes are being committed by kids that don't have dads, have been bullied in schools, all the kind of things we've talked about so many times. And I'm not saying it's right that they were able to get a hold of a firearm, but it really, really, all these things can make a difference. And so, why is it in these specific cities? And there's a common denominator. I mean, they're all left-run cities. They have their policies are terrible, and just things to really think about. And when you're going to the ballot box and everything, maybe if things haven't been going your way, maybe rethink how you voted the last time and see if that might be a part of it.
Brazil's number one. We're number two.
Yeah.
Venezuela's 3. Mexico's 4. India's 5. Colombia's 6. The Philippines 7, and Guatemala 8.
Yeah. So, like I say, we'll have the actual numbers up here for the cities that create the most. But yeah, I mean, think about that. You pull the and it's just cities. It's not states. Just 5 cities out of that list there, and we go to, I forget what the number is, but it's like 160 or 180th or something like that.
So let me just read. This is coming from worldpopulationreview.com. So this is countries with the highest rates of violent gun death, homicides per 100,000 residents in 2019. The only thing listed for the U.S. is the U.S. Virgin Islands is number 8, but the U.S. itself is not on there. That's crazy, huh?
Yeah. See, and what's really tough, so something else for you guys to understand, when you're doing this research and you just really quickly Google it, a lot of these numbers are including things like suicides with firearms and things like that. It's kind of tough because that's not something that somebody went out there and was using it against somebody else. And trust me, I don't.
So just that you mentioned that, countries with the highest rates of firearm-related suicide per 100,000 in 2019, number 1 was Greenland. I mean, it's pretty isolated.
It's pretty isolated, yeah.
Second is United States. And then Uruguay, San Marino, Montenegro, Argentina, Finland,
right.
Monaco, France, and Venezuela.
So now think about that for a second. We're number 2 in the world in people offing themselves with a gun, right? Now, forget about the gun for a second. Let's say we're number 2 in the world in hanging ourselves or lighting ourselves on fire, drowning ourselves in a pool. Why are so many people doing that? That really, really, really shows that we have some mental issues in this country. Why are so many people thinking that we're one of, you can listen to all the lefties that you want, that this is a terrible country. There is a line of people south of our border piling through Mexico, trashing their country, right, as they go, trying to get up here from all kinds of different countries. Why would they be coming here if this is such a horrible place to be? People do not run to horrible places. And if you're one of the people, if you're sitting there right now, this is a terrible country, I hate it here, then why aren't you running away from it? And I'm not saying it to be mean or racist. Why aren't you running away?
I am.
Why aren't you running away from it? I mean, hey, share. When Donald Trump became president last time, you said you were going to move to Canada. You never did. And
she's going to do it this time.
And now you're going to do it this time. Are you serious about it? So if it's the reason you're not is because it's a wonderful place. Listen, we got our problems. Every country has its issues, right? We've got some beautiful places, and we've got some ugly places. We got some great stuff, and we've got some stuff we need to work on, just like families and just like yourself. If you're sitting there eating a bunch of chips and you're overweight, or
I feel like that was shot at me. I ate a few
now we
chips
ate
today, bro.
Tacos. Okay, it's different.
Damn,
there was some protein in there, but if you're not 100% perfect sitting there, it's kind of crazy to think that you're gonna put other people down or other systems and stuff down. So
I just think that if people are responsible citizens want to own guns and possess them, that's their God-given right. That's the right by our Constitution to have. Um, just like, people out there that want to. Can you imagine if they outlawed tattoos? Kind of chaos we'd get into, right?
Yeah,
People
they
love
just
tattoos and want to do it, but it harms your body, they say, right? And you get these things that never come off and blah blah blah. And then
right.
those of you that put your significant other's name that you end up breaking up with a year, now you got to get the cover up tattoos. And it's just a lot of money, man.
Well,
Stop putting names on there, man. Just put your kids' names on there.
I mean, there's
But
some places do it like back alley style tattoos. Oh, it's really cheap, and then you get this skin fungus because they use dirty needles and
But
stuff.
the point is, I mean, you are protected in this country to do that
Yeah.
if you want to do it, And now, just like guns, there's people that frown on people that have tattoos, right? They're
How
like,
about smoking
yeah.
cigarettes?
Like, I hate people that smoke cigarettes. That's nasty. It's nasty. But you know what? I smoke cigars. I'd be a hypocrite if I said something about that. You know what?
Yeah.
I dated one girl one time that smoked cigarettes. Didn't work for me. Didn't work for
The
me.
thing is that with cigars, it's basically the pure. There's no filtering or
Right.
anything like that. Cigarettes, the amount of chemicals that are put into cigarettes is ridiculous, and those things have been proven over and over and over to kill people, to cause cancer, to create all kinds of
Cigars are
issues.
from the earth.
Cigars are
here
from the
for
earth,
me
yeah.
you.
and
Smoke,
so why haven't we outlawed cigarettes? Well, because dang it, it's a freedom that people have to do. Now, you can't smoke. We're old enough to remember when you went to a restaurant, you had to ask, they'd ask you, do you want a smoking or non-smoking section? I remember there was a smoking and non-smoking sign. In fact, when you get on older airplanes, the airplanes
they had ashtrays.
They had ashtrays.
People smoked in planes that were compressed with oxygen. We were a flying bomb, for Christ's sakes. But yeah, they smoked in airplanes, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? In hospitals.
The only places you couldn't smoke in hospitals was where they had patients that were using high amounts of oxygen and stuff like that, because
the church. You couldn't smoke in church either.
No, you never could.
Yeah, no, because
I don't ever remember you being able to smoke.
No, because it's against any Catholic belief, because it's a chemical going into your body and stuff like that. So kind of like alcohol. But could you just imagine if people just started impacting things that the Constitution, start altering it and moving it around, we would lose a lot of rights. So it's like I said, we talked about this. It's a gateway. You start opening that door.
One thing leads to another.
The point, I think, the whole purpose of this conversation today was that, yes, guns are extremely dangerous, but so are so many other things. Alcohol is dangerous. A lot of smoking causes cancer.
I guarantee you, alcohol has ruined more families than guns have.
Right, and so there's a lot of things that contribute to dangerous situations, to violence in our society. We have one of the worst healthcare systems in the world. It's all about money here, and it's unfortunate because all you got to do is walk outside, go to your local, any major town in your state, and look at the homelessness out there. People with mental health issues, schizophrenia, and all kinds of things that are walking around with no help whatsoever. Right? Mexico's poor as heck. You hardly see homeless people in Mexico. Hardly. But here, it's everywhere. Yeah. It's everywhere. And it's unfortunate because we're a great nation, and we should, instead of helping these other nations with their problems, we should be helping ourselves with our problems. I think gun violence is the last thing we need to be focusing on, especially this government is the last thing they want to focus on. Yeah. One thing they should focus on is probably a good retirement home for Biden, because that dude, I don't know what he's doing. But they need to focus on making things right for our country first. We're too busy in these little wars out here with Ukraine, with Israel and Palestine. I mean, my heart goes out to all the innocent lives that are going.
It doesn't matter what side you're on. Everybody can feel bad for innocent people that are involved in this nonsense, and it's nonsense. It's complete nonsense.
It is. Like, this is not what wars destroy nations and countries. I get it. Wars is supposed to stop, but it's just, to me, that's true violence. That's the violence is when innocent lives have to perish because of someone else's radical idea or whatever the case is. But anyway, we need to do better as a society. We guns aren't the problem. They never have been. The problem is the people behind it, right? Their ill intent that they have towards society, towards America. This last shooter, this the Audrey Hale with the Nashville, and all her anger that she had and how she said it. I directly blame people like AOC and all the people that just feed this racism into society today. That
Right.
whole progressive left, all they talk about is race and race and race and race.
Right.
And you got people like Audrey Hale, who's a transgender, who's already has mental issues. Just read her manifesto, and you see, you know, she was so. It's weird because she has this mental health issue clearly, but she has timelines. Like, at this time I'm doing this. At this time I'm loading up all my weapons, getting them ready. At this time I'm putting them in the car. At this time,
Oh, yeah.
like, she had
was
this
very
down,
specific.
very
Yeah.
specific details of what she was doing. So, to one degree, she was sane, but to the other, she had some real mental issues that were, I guarantee you, they were fed by the left and this propaganda of racism everywhere in America,
Mhm.
where the only racist people is the left. They're the only ones feeding into that theory. No one else. No one else is trying to get out of it. Everybody else is finding God and doing all
Yeah.
kinds of other things. And the progressive left is just going deeper and deeper to the dark hole. And people aren't seeing that. They are pushing these agendas in our face, making society so dark and gloomy and hateful. And no one sees it.
I see it.
Well, we see it.
Yeah.
We see it because we're the chosen ones. You know what I mean?
That's us.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's ridiculous, and it leads to stupid things like this that we have to talk about because now they want to control everything in the world. Guns are the problem. No, fool. You're the problem. You know what I mean? Not you, but the left. The left's a problem. And man, I remember when the left used to be more conservative, and they've just gone to Turdbirdville. You know what I mean? And they can't help it apparently, because now it's like that desperate person that they'll do anything to keep their job, right? Anything, because they're losing grasp. They start losing their grasp on reality, and they're just like throwing whatever to win. That's them right now.
Yeah,
they're like drowning fast.
Yeah, because their only candidate, their leader, is complete garbage. I mean, and it's like, well, we'll prove it. Well, the last 3 years have proven it, and then if that didn't prove it enough, go back in his track record. 40 to 45 years ago. I mean, and we even said that during the election. You're going to vote in somebody that has been like we were talking about this earlier. I'm not a big sports guy, but I use sports as an analogy a lot. And if you had a coach that was coaching the losingest football team or basketball team or
Cardinals. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. What?
Yeah. You had a coach that for 40 years, never won a game, losing, just terrible. Everything was going like garbage. We're up to, put a new coach in. Oh, let's just put Ding Dong back in the. Why don't we just put him back out on the field again?
You mean when you say Ding Dong, you mean Biden?
Yeah, for another Turd Bird Central, man. Turd Bird General. So yeah,
that's bro. Real quick, I don't know if it was a recent one, but they showed him at Arlington, right? It's for Veterans Day. He went to Arlington, and he's like lost, bro. He walks up to the wreath, he walks back, and you could tell that the soldiers like. You got to go back over there, bro. You can't be over here. Okay, you got to go back. And he turns around and walks back next to Kamala Turdbird Harris, and he stands there. And I'm like, what are we seeing here? What do we just see? Like, he is losing it. He is gone.
His handlers are terrible. That's all I gotta say.
I think one of his handlers is Pelosi. Honestly, now they're both Turdbirds.
She needed a handler. Yeah, the blind leading the blind.
Guys, have a great day. That was beautiful. I love that. That was so funny.
Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. I'm Jay, and that is Joe, and this has been Joe and Jay Outspoken. If you had fun or learned anything, do us a favor, like, subscribe, comment, and share. If there's a topic you would like to see us cover in the future, let us know at joeandjayproductions.com/ideas. If you would like to help out the cause, it could be as small as liking, subscribing, and commenting, and you can also grab merch from the Outspoken store or become one of our Patreon members. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Take care of one another.
And remember, do better, be better.
And as always,
God bless America.